What's up, everyone? My name is Kaz Canola here, as usual when I'm on my channel. um, I'm here today to talk to you guys about something very important in the PC gaming world, and that's, what you're looking for when you want to buy a PC game. Like a gaming, sorry, gaming desktop. Oh man, I started that really bad. Anyway, so sometimes it's hard to find information on the internet, stuff like that. I'm trying to make this as simple as possible for those who are complete beginners, because it gets a lot more complex, I guess. And I'm not that much of a genius myself, but this is for those who are, just learning about the PC gaming world and want to switch over from consoles. It's coming up to Christmas time too, so people are going to be getting new PCs and stuff. What you're looking for when you buy a PC, or what you're looking to get when you build one, or if you want, for the purpose of gaming, pretty much. So the most important part of your gaming PC is the graphics card. If you want frames per second, that sort of thing. Most games these days, pretty much all games these days, run mainly off your graphics card. If you're trying to get frames per second and stuff like that, you're gonna also need like a relatively good processor. So you got Intel or AMD's, the two main ones there. They don't always matter really that much compared to your frames per second. But we're kind of seeing it starting to come through a little bit more in games like Arma 3 and stuff like that that are actually very processing based. So that's something to look out for if you don't want to, have to build or add parts to it if it's a laptop or something. You're also going to need a good cooling compartment, a few of them if you could, and a CPU cooler is always great. Something that you don't want to go too cheaply on it. And it's same with the power supply. You need it's a pretty good power supply, something that can get enough wattage. You can usually find that out online for comparing on what parts you need to how much power supply you will need. And you want to go for the ones that are kind of gold or silver based. They have like a rating and stuff like that, so they don't blow up in your in your desktop. But obviously you're gonna need, for a hard drive, if you didn't know, there's things called solid state drives, so SSDs, and they run a lot faster than hard drives. You can put your OS on them. They cost a lot more, but you can just get smaller ones and put your Windows or Mac or whatever you use on. Sorry, on there. Yeah. So, and they're rated by RPM usually, the hard drives, not the SSDs, by revs per minute. You wanna get a 7,200 one at minimum, because you don't want to be having these really long load times. That's pretty much the reason why you need that, and you want a quick startup. So costing a part of your gaming PC. You want to be making sure that everything is, you don't go too cheaply on everything, but the biggest cost you want to put in is your graphics card if you're going for a gaming PC. So you want to make sure that you're nice and you don't go cheaper on that, because you don't want to have to keep upgrading every year or every 2 years or something like that. You want to make sure it's called future proof, which means it'll last you a little bit of time before you have to upgrade again, because they are pretty expensive, and that's probably going to be the most expensive part of your gaming PC, if it's like not solely but mostly for gaming. What do you want to watch out for? I just threw this in here because I've seen a lot of it. I'm going to throw it up right here when it's in the video and that sort of thing. It's going to have some eBay buys. Come up, gaming PC, really good gaming thing. And it's going to say gaming, gaming, gaming at caps lock throughout the whole advertisement. When you see that, that's always a good sign of a good gaming PC. But you can get things like eBay and stuff like that have really cheap, but that's because they've got a really bad graphics card. They've thrown in the i7, they've thrown in the hard drive, and it's popping up everywhere except for the graphics card. And you want to make sure you see that specification, because you do not want to get that gaming PC and it runs absolutely nothing, because it might be cheap, but you got to make sure you check out the specifications, and you want to get a good graphics card, because it's not a gaming PC if it's not good a graphics card. They just throw in things in there to get the buy quick and easy, and then you don't want to realize later. I saw a friend of mine that had this gaming PC and i7 and all this stuff, and he wanted to play League of Legends, which was luckily, so he didn't really need a good graphics card, but he saw that, and it was only a 620 graphics card, which is terrible if you don't know. I'm going to explain more of that later. A few types of graphics card that you want, that you want to know about, really, is some are mobile for laptops and some are desktops. So that's not really going to matter when you buy it, because you don't usually buy, obviously, mobile graphics card if you're buying a desktop. So you got desktop graphics and you got mobile. The way you tell that is if there's an M at the end of the graphics card, and so one of that'll mean that it's mobile and it goes inside your laptop. Examples of budget. So a lot of people want to buy some really expensive ones, and that's going to last them for ages. They're going to get really high frames per second. And then some people on a budget, which is pretty much me as well. I understand how you feel. If you want to be at a budget, everyone wants to buy things for as cheap as possible, as good as they can get, really. So they have money to buy on other parts of the computers, or just save up and buy some games or something like that. So I have a few examples today is that are both EVGA to keep things fair, and I'm going to compare some specs just to let you guys know. I'm mainly a NVIDIA based kind of, most of my knowledge is in NVIDIA. AMD, I have a slight, knowledge about it, and especially the later models, but these newer models of the NVIDIA is really what I know most about. So they're both we're going for the EVGA 780 3GB and the EVGA 760 2GB. A few things you want to talk about with that is the fact that they have different versions kinda and models of it. So you got EVGA, that's a company that makes the graphics card from the stock NVIDIA graphics card and makes their own version with more cooling units or something like that, more CUDA processors inside it, but it's pretty much versions that are upgraded slightly in their own way to keep it cooler or better than the stock version. So you got heaps of companies fighting over that, or GeForce and that sort of thing. So you also need to talk about models. So you're going to see this thing come up 780 and 760. What that's going to mean is it's the 7th generation, really. That's what I like to think of it as. Is it 7? So that first number there, that's going to be really whether it doesn't really matter, because you can have something like a 720, so it's a 7th generation, versus something like a 680, and the 680 is going to blow it out of the water because they're just different versions and they come with different features, but they're going to be different prices as well. So, for example, the 780 compared to a 680 is usually, that one number in front is usually a 10 to 15% increase in frames per second. Usually everything really just upgraded slightly. But the second two numbers are like the lineup during that model. It's hard to explain, but as you get, greater 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90, and then you have things like a GTX Titan, which I'm not even going to bother talking about right now. But, yeah, so you're going to have an upgrade from the first number is your model, really, and then the second number is gonna really matter, like exactly how much you're gonna pay for it and how much the frames per second are gonna be. So obviously an EVGA 780 is gonna be better than a 760 because that the second number really in there, I guess you could say, is higher than it. And also the first one is a 3GB version and the second is a 2GB version, so you got to keep that in mind as well. They have higher memory clocks and that sort of thing. But the 780 on Amazon at the moment is $520, and the 760 is $250. So obviously there's a higher cost for the better you want to buy, and the more frames per second you're going to get. But that really depends on your budget and how you want to go about buying this new computer. Anyway, all of these specs, sorry, not specs, what am I talking about? What the hell, something just came up in my, oh god, there's a software update. Anyway, they're all benchmarks for the game's frames per second, and so for a few games, I just threw in a couple. Sleeping Dogs, so the higher frames per second is better, obviously. For they're all at the full settings and 4 times anti-aliasing, which is, it's just like a rendering system, and it's gonna slow down your frames per second, but it's gonna make things look better, obviously. So you can change how you want it to, but I just want to use these frames per second as a comparing different models, different graphics, more like upgrades and that sort of thing. For the EVGA GTX 760. It is a 21 frames was the average for the Sleeping Dogs game. So that's a new game that came out, and it's quite demanding actually. But 21 frames per second is not too good. See, for a gaming PC, you really want something like 35 frames per second is really what it comes to playable. You want somewhere around there. So the minimum for the 760 there was 13 frames per second, which is terrible. Although it sounds like 13 times every second you're going to see a new picture come up and it's going to make it look like a video or whatever. That's not very good at all, actually. So 35 is really why you want to stay around, but you obviously can turn down the settings and you're going to get higher frames and turn off the anti-aliasing and you're going to get higher frames. I don't know if I'm saying anti-aliasing right, I don't really know, don't judge. But for another thing I threw in there was a 670 instead of a 760. So it's a lower model but a higher second number model, and it's the like I said, if it was a 660 it'd be like a 15% increase. Well, for something like a 670 compared to a 760, you're gonna see around about the same. If that second number is up one version than the other one, you're gonna see relatively the same frames per second. And in this case, it was the exact same 21 frames per second average and 13 frames per second minimum. So that's something they can compare really nicely to. For something that was way, this is going to cost a lot of money if you want it, but it's the ultimate is the GTX Titan at the moment. It's the biggest you can buy, the best you can buy, but it's around a $1,000 cost. So, you're not really going to spend that much money on it unless you're a keen gamer or something like that. 33 frames per second was the average. So compared to the 760 and the 670, that just blows it out of the water. Minimum was 19, which is not too bad, but obviously that's not good enough. You want to take down the anti-aliasing. That is obviously a really, really demanding game. Even if the best in the company and the best in every model, if that can't play it, then what the hell are they making the game for? Because that's just too hard for 19 frames minimum. But the 33 frames average, that's pretty good. That's definitely playable. And NVIDIA GTX 680 I threw in there as well was 23 frames per second average, and 15 minimum. So that's, there's not a huge difference between a 670 and a 680 there. Just 2 frames on either side, both average and minimum, which is weird. I got these from PCGamer.com. I find them a very reliable source, so if you want to go check them out, go check them out. They have some frames per second in there. You can check out some graphics cards you want to buy. For Crysis 3, the FPS is the highest, the full setting you can get. This one does not have anti-aliasing on there, though. I just thought I'd let you know. EVGA, which is another, it's a version, GTX 760, 24 frames average and 14 frames minimum. So obviously that is not very playable, but it's just a comparing, like I said. So you can obviously turn down to maybe a high instead of an ultra or something like that. For NVIDIA GTX 670, which last time we saw the exact same, it's got a 25 average and only a 20 minimum. So that's almost playable, I guess. But you probably want to lower it to get those higher frames per second. A NVIDIA GTX 780, which was the $520 one, 33 average, 25 minimum. So that's almost, playable. You could, if those who don't really care about frames, as long as it doesn't look janky, you would, you'd be fine with that. But so yeah, and then the NVIDIA GTX Titan is a 37 average and a 28 minimum. So there's not a huge difference in frames per second there compared to the cost. So that's what you want to look at. How much do you really need? And it really depends on different games. Go check out some of those specs. I'll put links for both graphics cards, the 760 and the 780, in the description. And you guys can go check out some more games on there if you're looking to buy either of them, because they are the newest model out right now. The 700 series have pretty much just come out. Some of them are still coming out for the mobile editions, so go check them out. I'll also link you guys to the building guide, a building guide that I find very reliable. If you're thinking about building your own gaming PC this year for Christmas or your birthday coming up later on. But yeah, just go check them out if you want, because it's very reliable and very good. So yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys learned a bit. If you didn't learn a bit and you want me to make another one or something, put a link in the a comment in the comment box down the bottom there, or a thumbs up, or dislike or something. But yeah, that's pretty much. It's kind of hard to explain exactly the different types of graphics cards and what you need in your gaming PC. But graphics card, you want to spend your money on that stuff. I shouldn't have said a swear word in the video. That was a long video, guys, but thank you very much for watching. If you watched it all the way through, good on you. If you, yeah, just Thanks for watching, guys, and have a great day. Hope you learned a bit. So thanks, guys. Bye.